I really intentionally try to think about not just a podcast or a training that is great one time because it maybe gives some slight perspective shifts or some inspiration, but really when I'm putting those together in my mind, I'm thinking like, what are some ones that you probably want to go back to multiple times and meditate on? Because in my career, if I go back and look at the last, 20 years, I mean, next year I'll be 20 years. Yeah, next year I'll be 20 years of doing this, which is crazy. Um, there's only so many podcasts that I was like, dude, that one really changed everything for me. And I remember listening to some like 30, 40 times. Like it was like kind of like if you look at a lot of very successful business entrepreneurs that talk about books that they've read, a lot of them go back and say, I've read Think and Grow Rich, dozens and dozens and dozens of time. I didn't just read it once. It was so good that it was worth me kind of meditating on and engaging how far am I off, getting back in alignment with some of the concepts. And so my desire is to a lot of times cut podcasts on the Monday Morning Mindset podcast that are those for you, right? We go through all objections, the think about it objection, mindset, psychology behind selling, all those kind of things that you can say, hey, this will be a good one. And that way, as you build your business and somebody's like, man, I really want to get this business and understand it at a higher level, the goal is you can point them to the YouTube channel. And there's enough really good content on there that's going to help, shift and shape them into that top producer mindset. Ultimately, that's kind of the goal, right? So, hopefully that introduction or me just, speaking to myself gave you enough time to come up with some questions. So that way, when we run this, because this is going to be on YouTube, you guys hopefully have some questions and I'm not, um, you know, having to extract them for you. So think about your week, think about your business, think about the scenarios, the situations that you dealt with. Think about the struggles, what are the greatest pain points that you're currently dealing with, whether that's mindset, whether that's leads, schedule, whatever it is. Think about those things, and that way, as I open it up for questions, you've got them. So, with that said, Ash, you ready to go? Oh, it is recording. Okay, great. All right, perfect. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Monday Morning Mindset Podcast. Paul McLean here, and as I say every week, it is an honor and a privilege to be somebody that maybe you pop up on your screen, whether you're driving, you're at the gym, maybe you got some time blocked out where this is where you sharpen your axe and get prepared to get back into your day and attack the next quarter of your day at a higher level. It's a privilege to be on with you guys, and my desire is to bring you great value, and so that way today was better than yesterday, and tomorrow is better than today. And I hope that this provides that for you. And if it does, make sure to subscribe, share this, get it to your team so that way they're also getting some good consumption that's going to help renew their mind and transform their business. And so today we're going to really go through some Q&A. So we've got a good team that's on here today, guys, and really what I want to do is just kind of hear what questions they've got. And the one thing I know to be true is that oftentimes we think that like we're the only ones. Like I believe, not to preach or, I think there's an enemy out there and the enemy wants to get you in isolation. I think it's easier to attack when you're isolated. I think it's difficult to attack when you've got a bond of people, a unified team that's kind of all got their shield up, marching in the right direction. So what I do know to be true is this: we're a lot more alike than we are not alike. We deal a lot of the same objections, same hurdles, same pain points, same bottlenecks, same discouragement, same levels of doubt, disappointment, distortion of what we think is and isn't. Like we deal with the same stuff. And so when I do these Q&As, I hope that you're going to realize that, man, I had that question too, or man, that's what I'm dealing with too. And sometimes just having this thought of like, oh yeah, me too, has done it for me, right? Like I remember thinking in the beginning, like these top producers, they just had the perfect leads, and the people just always just said yes, and they just were so nice, and they made them like pudding, and gave them cookies to leave, and had all these thoughts that I just came up with. And then I remember going on a ride along with a top producer, and guy that wrote a lot of business every week. I remember him having like, the think about it. And like, I got to talk it over with my kids. And he had all these objections. I remember him having like 3 no sales in a row. And really what I left with that was like, oh, me too. Like maybe I can be successful even though I'm dealing with these think about it, these no sells, these clients that are pushing back, this level of rejection, maybe that isn't a signal that I'm not going to be successful. Maybe it's just a part of the process. And so I remember just leaving very encouraged, realizing that what I thought wasn't. Like I had been believing a lie that these things that I had conjured up that disqualified me, they really didn't. Right. And so as we go through these questions, guys, and I would just encourage you, one thing that I'll say as we open this up when it comes to the power of questions is I remember hearing this from John Maxwell, and it was one of those things where I wrote it down. I said, I've got to make this a non-negotiable. Like I got to make this a part of my DNA. And what he said is that, he had, developed relationships, and his goal was to continue to develop relationships with people that were ahead of where he was at, and they were where he wanted to go. And so that they could really let, their hindsight be his foresight. And he alluded to when he started a church and how important it was that, he took all the money he had and he wrote letters, because this is back in the day, like 70s or 60s, wrote letters to all these church, pastors that had good sized churches and said, hey, can I just take you to lunch? And he said a lot of them didn't reply back, but a couple did. And he said that he flew out and he met for lunch with some of these big churches. And he said that really laid the foundation as far as how he built the church that he built. That was one of the largest, if not the fastest growing churches in all of California at the time. And what he was saying is like, man, that was invaluable. And that he ended up landing on this concept of I'm never going to be in front of people that can provide value to me in any area of my life. And I don't have so many questions that the time runs out before my questions do. And I remember hearing that, think like, man, that what a great thought, right? Because for one, that keeps humility, it keeps a student mindset, which really hedges against the great fall, which typically comes with pride, ego, and also getting to a state of like, I finally have exceeded expectation and things are going so good that you don't realize that compromise can creep in, and compromise often will kill you because compromise brings in complacency. It stills your student mindset, your coachability. And so it was just this great thought. And so, now no matter where I go, I've got a list of questions, and it could be fitness, it could be faith, it could be business, but I never want to be in front of somebody that can provide value to me in any area of my life, and I don't have questions to ask them. Because man, that is so important. The power of questions is so essential. And just getting in the habit or discipline and flow of asking questions, it actually helps you not just extract higher level thought processes. So now you're not working off of yours, you're working off a higher level one. Because the truth is this, most of the time, if you knew what to do, you'd probably be doing it. Or if you knew how to view it, you would probably be doing it in a different way, but your perspective and viewpoint's different. So once you get exposed to a higher thought process repeatedly over and over again, and that thought process now seems more familiar than maybe even the one you've been holding on to, that's where the substitution happens, where you give up yours and you substitute it for a higher level one. Because the reality is the difference between winning at the level you want to win at and the level you're at now, it's between your ears. It's your mindset. It's the way you see things. And so these questions not only help you with that, but they also help you with getting in the discipline of being the kind of person that doesn't make statements all the time, but actually ask questions, because questions is what leads people. And the reality is this, if you don't know this, let me just tell you, you're a leader. Leadership is influence. So if you get on a call today and you're talking to a client, does that client want to be led? The answer is absolutely. They don't want to figure out what to do, what plan to get. They've raised their hand and they said, I want protection for my family now. Could you please lead me? What doesn't lead is being told this is what you need to do. Like telling is selling. Asking is assisting them to buy. People love to buy, people hate to be sold. And so when you get good at just being a person that asks questions all the time, man, creativity, like your sales process, your ability to lead even your agents, everything is enhanced. And so the questions, guys, are so important, because the reality is this: sales is a transfer of thoughts and ideas where you get the person you're communicating with to adapt and take on your thought idea as their own. Because if they can take it on as their own and they believe they came to it, they're going to own it. And if they own it, it's going to lead them. But if you're telling, now they're the whole time thinking like, is there a hidden agenda? Does this really make sense? Is there something I'm not seeing here? Well, let me kind of step back. Let me kind of put up a little bit of a wall and assess. But if you're asking questions, you're going to lead, guide, and direct them. And people want to be led, guided, and directed, whether that's an agent you bring on board or a client you're calling or talking to. So, all right, we've laid the groundwork. Now let's spend 15 minutes going through some questions. So, guys, what questions do you have? Go ahead and unmute and ask any question you have.
This is kind of a leadership question that I have, Paul, but when you see someone with like potential, and you can just tell that they're going to sell at a high level, or at least you feel that, but you kind of see inconsistent action, what's usually like the real issue underneath it that you've seen in agents that you see with potential, but they're kind of self-sabotaging? What do you think that's the main cause of that?
Great question, dude. So the person's got potential, right? You know that they can go out there and you could just see it because some of the fruits that they're already showing reveal the fact that they could be a big producer, but their behavior doesn't line up with what you see in them. All right. So when it comes to leadership, the goal is to, see it and say it. So maybe this person has the potential but their behavior doesn't show up. To me, it's an identity issue. So they don't really believe that they're the type of person that can go out and write 30, 40K a month. So either they have an identity issue or they have like a why issue. One of those two is typically what I land on. The identity is I just don't think I'm the type of person that can go out there and make that kind of money, build that kind of business, and therefore my behavior is self-sabotaging, right? I don't believe that I'm the type of person. And so how do you help with that? What's the solution to that? Well, the solution to that is seeing it in them. So anytime you see something that exemplifies that high level of identity where you see the potential, you spotlight it. I'm like, dude, Caden, I told you, dude, you're going to be a beast. Do you see how you did this in your consistency a lot yesterday with how many dials you made? Like, dude, that's the ticket. That's who you are, bro. Like you're a consistent, disciplined producer that's going to write 40K a month, man. I can see it with such clarity. There's no denying how I can visualize it, man. Like that's you. So that's seeing it and then that's saying it. Because if you can see it and say it a long enough time, then that person's going to start to believe it. Because a lot of this as a leader is to really believe more about somebody than they maybe believe in themselves. And you say it and see it so often that they actually pick up the belief that you've got. And now they start to go out there and they start to exemplify it. They start to do it. The second thing, as far as what holds them back is having a really good why, meaning that like they don't really know why they want to go out there and write 30, 40K. And if you don't really know why, then that why can't drive you. I mean, if you look at the book Think and Grow Rich, it talks about the first thing is having a burning desire. So it's like, does this person with potential, do they have a really like big why? Do they have a burning desire? Are they waking up early? Are they staying up late? Are they hungry and thinking like, dude, this is the ticket? And if they're not, well, then that's where you have to walk through and help them grab and develop a bag of reasons. And so I could say, Caden, why do you want to go out and write 30K? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know, just because it seems like good money. And like that they might not say that, but like that would work, that's where their mind would go because they don't really have clarity on it. So it's like, well, why do you want to write 30K? Well, I want to, be able to, make some good money and get out of this hole I've got. Well, why? Well, man, because things have been tight, and things were tight with, since I've been in this, in my working career, like it's always been kind of like I'm chasing, money. I just want some, stress relief and some peace. Okay, well, why is that important? I don't know, man. Like I just feel like, even when I was growing up, my parents were always fighting about money and they ended up separating because it seemed like it was about money and we couldn't really do things. And okay, got it. Why would that be important to you? Well, because, eventually as I get married, I don't want to, there's probably a million things you can fight about with your spouse. And I just would rather money not being one of them. And I want to kind of go out and create experiences and moments and things like that. Okay, great. And what kind of things would you create? Where would you live? What would that look like? Man, I'd love to live over here. And well, why over there? Well, man, because it's just a safer place. And, I grew up in a spot that wasn't the safest place to be a place where I'd want to raise my kids. And man, they also, it's a cool little community. I can go get a boat. And what kind of boat would you get? Like you start going through those things with people. You start building their why up. And if you can get like 5 layers deep on the why, they're going to be more inclined to sacrifice, right? Because their passion is enhanced. I love the quote that you really only know how passionate you are about something if you look at what you're willing to give up for that something, right? Not to this is not me, preaching at all, just a great story. Like if you look at even the passion of Christ, why do they call it the passion of Christ? Well, the last 3 days while Christ was on earth, he gave up everything. Like he sacrificed his life. And so it's called the passion. So if somebody's sacrifice isn't really good, meaning that they're not sacrificing their time, their energy, their money, like they're kind of like reserved. Well, then they don't have passion. Why don't they have passion? They don't have a why or a deep enough why. So I think getting some deep depth with why is really important because most people just don't think about it. They just think like, I would be good to write 30K. Well, why? What could you do for your business? If you're at 30, 40K, could you hire staff? Well, yeah. Well, could you run some recruiting ads? Well, yeah, I could. Do you want to get financially free? Yeah. Why do you want to get financially free? Well, how quickly could you get there? If you're at 30K a month, would that help you get there quicker? Well, yes, it would. Well, you just start walking through some things like that. And then the other thing I would say, dude, that might be a third thing. Um, I'll give you like a bonus thing, would be probably personal growth and development, right? Like I think everybody by default, and just everybody in general, just has kind of like a thermostat of what they're set at, right? And I remember reading this book. I think it was called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. By the way, phenomenal book. Like anybody in the early 20s should definitely read it. Anybody over age 20 should definitely read it as well. Very, very good book. And it talks about this financial blueprint that everybody has. And, you kind of look at lottery winners, the average lottery winner, if they win 20, 30 million, doesn't matter what they win, within like 24 months, they file bankruptcy. It's like over 80%, bro. It's like astronomical. Like that would suck, right? Like in your mind, you're like, dude, if I hit the lottery, all my problems are gone, right? Because money doesn't solve, everything, but dang, it does solve a lot of problems, right? It definitely does. Um, but you hit it and you make all that money and then you lose it. And now you're like file bankruptcy and you hit the lottery. Like think about how much more depressed you are. Like, dude, that would be a bad day. But most of them end up there that way. Well, why is that? Well, it's because they don't have their financial thermostat enhanced. Like, dude, this is like you have to personally grow before you are able to actually manage, handle, and scale external growth. It's an internal project. And so, that's why early on I loved, although I hated reading books in school, when I started reading personal growth books, man, I loved it because it was just like I started to see things the way my perspective started to shift and change. I was like, dude, this makes sense. And then I started to realize the data and the stats on it. It's like, bro, if I don't read and develop, I'm going to self-sabotage eventually. Like I'm not, I think I'm so special that I'm going to be able to like be the one that doesn't get affected by that like universal truth. And so, development and growth is a big deal. And so it's like, what's their personal growth plan look like? Because you want to enhance their thermostat. And the way the book talks about it, it's like, if your thermostat is set at like say 70 degrees, like that's what you're used to making. And maybe 70 degrees is like having 2 grand in your bank account and always having just couple thousand in your bank account. That's what you're used to. If all of a sudden, man, you have a massive month, boom, and it spikes up. You write a big annuity, you write something, and your account goes to 30, 40 grand. If you haven't grown yourself, you're going to, it's like the window opens up and all of a sudden you've got, hot air that comes in. Well, your thermostat's going to kick on. It's going to bring it back down to the 70 degrees. That's how it works. And it works the other way too, right? Like if you have a terrible month, but you're used to having a couple grand in your account, like I'm kind of going into debt, the way it works is you're going to find somehow some cells you wouldn't normally have made because it's like the window opened up and hot air or cold air came in and dropped the temperature to 60. Oh, you'll find ways to get it back to 70. So the question is, how do you enhance that? How do you grow that where you can raise your thermostat to like 90 degrees, 100 degrees, 110 degrees, where you're actually not just, being pulled back to what's familiar, what you're used to. Does that make sense? So those would probably be the three things that I would say I would work with that person on. And really what I would also say from a leadership standpoint, your desire and goal is to have a couple conversations like that, dude, but then let them, they're gonna have to either figure it out. Either they will or they won't. Does that make sense? Like you can give them the right blueprint, but they still have to march. They still have to do something. And I just think oftentimes as a leader, especially as a new leader building a team, you think you have to be all things to all people. Like, dude, if they win or lose, it's because of me. No, it ain't. It ain't had nothing to do with you, bro. Like you can give them some feedback on like, hey, build your why, follow this template. You can have chat build out, developing your purpose, your bag of reasons. Give me 5 whys. You could send it to them, fill this out, send it back. They don't fill it out. Who cares? It is what it is. Like, dude, like it is what it is. What should you do? Go produce a bunch of insurance and go find more people that eventually might be the person that's going to do those things. But you don't need to slow down and think about it all the time. Like, dude, how can I get this person to reach their potential? I see the potential. How can I get them? Dude, you can't get them. Like, they're going to do it. Now, you can have, like I said, a couple of these conversations, but at the end of the day, dude, like they're going to do what they're going to do. And guess what? People are going to do what they want to do all the time. The goal is, can I have a couple conversations? I might get them to want to do something that is more in line with success, but it's up to them, dude. So don't overthink like it's your fault or you should have done this, or if you would have done this, then they might have been able to go out there and reach their potential. None of that's true. A winner's going to win, a loser's going to lose, especially when you've got a system, training, and support like we've got. Bro, the system's going to kind of help elevate them to the kind of person that needs to get this thing done. So good question, though. All right, guys, what other question do you have?
Yeah, I got one.
What's up, my man? I can't see your name. So, oh, here we
Oh,
go.
you
Johnny.
can't say, yeah,
There you
Johnny
go.
Resto. All right,
What's up,
so
Johnny?
what's going on, brother? How are you today?
Doing great, man. Good to see you, bro. Good beard.
Likewise, thank you, my friend. So it's kind of a long run-on question, but I'm a newer agent. I've been doing this about 2 weeks now. Saw you at the lock-in at in Texas just recently. Didn't get a chance to connect with you, but so 2 weeks in, you know, having maybe some typical, beginner struggles, but what were your struggles getting started? How did you overcome them? What was your work ethic like? And what were your goals and vision just getting started?
Bro, that's a lot to unpack. Great question, by the way. Um, so I mean, I would say early on, my work ethic was high because in my mind, I thought like so I had this belief that there was no way I was not going to be successful. And it wasn't arrogance or cockiness because it wasn't like I'm owed success. It was just like I saw enough people like from the first meeting I went to that were successful. In my mind, it was like, okay, I'm going to get there. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take, but two things that I rested on. One was that I'm not going to give up and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there was the first thing. So that was my first like thought was like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but like, dude, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. The second thing was I can control my attitude and activity in my association. And so those were the three things where it's like, if I suck, I'm just going to outwork people. And so, and I did suck in the beginning. Like my ratio wasn't nearly as good as everybody else's. But what seemed to be a bad thing, like maybe I'm not cut out for this. My close ratio is terrible. I'm not helping a lot of families. I'm struggling, overcoming objections. I kept getting the quote objection, and then I had convinced myself that that's just a part of what everybody asks. Like every human being just wants a quote, and that just makes sense. Like, why would you not want a quote? And I want a quote, you want a quote, we all want a quote, my mom wants a quote. Like that was so I started to, in early on, a big struggle I had was I started to take short term, like results and build a belief around them as if like that was just what it was. And so I started to like, you know, believe things that were going to lead me to failure and be like, it just is what it is. Like, I just thought everybody was going to give the quote objection. I remember talking to the guy that hired me and I said, bro, can you give me another way to overcome the objection? He gave me like 4 different ways to overcome the quote objection. I kept getting it. Finally, he said, what are you expecting? I was like, what am I expecting? I was kind of like irritated. I was like, bro, I'm expecting to get the quote objection, bro, because I keep getting the freaking quote objection. Like, that's what you're supposed to get, right? And he's like, well, that's your problem, dude. You expect it and you get what you expect. Stop expecting to get the quote objection and stop expecting not to overcome it. And like, so early on, that was my struggle is like, I would see things that were coming my way and I'd be like, oh, this is just the way it is. Right. Like, this is just the way it is. And that could even be like with leads. I think a lot of agents fall into that. Oh, these leads just suck. No, they don't. Like you suck, and your thought process sucks, and your perspective sucks. Like the leads, like meaning that you got a batch of 20, and so there's not enough law of large numbers. Like if you got a batch of 4,000, then you're going to see the ratio work out, but don't mess up the ratio because you're making this judgment as if this is just the way it is. Well, because now you're going to buy into that, and the truth is, it's a lie. But if you believe a lie long enough, it'll affect you as if it's true. And guess how it affects you? Now your cadence, your tonality, your speed, your pitch. Now you're saying things in such a way to kind of get the result that your mind has already made up is going to happen, right? You've already made the verdict, right? The verdict is, I've had 2 weeks doing this business. This is what I've experienced. Therefore, consequently, this is the way it's going to be. Well, once you land there, Johnny, now, without you even realizing it, subconsciously, you're just going to go out there and create evidence to support the verdict you've already concluded. That's dangerous, dude. So early on, those are some of my struggles, and then my work ethic was like, okay, I'm going to get there early, and then I'm going to start checking my thoughts. And this was one of the things that really helped me. My question was, does this thought line up with success or does it line up with failure? Like that was probably one of the things that I started to do early on. And it wasn't like I came up with it. I remember, getting taught, having a call with one of my guys the guy that recruited me, and he's like, dude, does your thought line up with success or failure? And that's a great thought. So it's like a thought audit. Now I could check it. I can take the thought captive and really kind of identify, like, is this in alignment or not in alignment? Right? What does this look like? And so my goals and vision early on was to get, my first year, my goal was I want to make six figures. And I don't know, if that's still a thing, but when in 2007, I feel like everybody, like that was their goal. Man, if I can make six figures. Nowadays, it's like, dude, I think '07 six figures is like maybe 250 now, right? Like, but like that was my goal. Like if I could just make six figures, like dude, then I've made it, right? And that was my goal. So I reverse engineered it. And I knew, I wanted to write 20K a month at the company I'd started with. My comp was 50%. That was the starting commission. And you had to hit, your volume every 2 months to bump up. And so, um, you know, I ended up writing like 225,000 that first year. And I made $120,000, you know, you can say, why'd you make not that much? Well, my comp sucked, right? Like that was just the IMO I was with. But I did it. And I reverse engineered it. What I knew, Johnny, this is the one thing I'll tell you as a new agent, that's comforting. We'll wrap up with this, is that, you know, a couple things. One, as you kind of get from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 weeks, you're going to start to develop a ratio. Right. So you just got to make sure your mind's right. Your attitude is right because you can control that. So the way you see things, which is what I just spoke about. Make sure your activity is right. You stay consistent. You don't get worried in doing well. Like you continue to do the thing. If you say you're gonna make dials from 8 to noon, make the dials, dude. Treat it like a job. And then if you take a break from 12 to 1 to sharpen your axe, do that. Get back on the phone from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock, do that. Like activity consistent. What'll take play? Association also consistent, making sure that you're not missing the calls. Because it's like people will have a bad day or whatever, and then they'll miss the call the next morning because they wanted to make some extra phone calls. It's like, bro, I get the logic on that. But like, if you forgot how to swing the club, stop freaking swinging and get a quick adjustment because you're going to practice the wrong way. Practice doesn't make perfect. The right, proper practice will get you closer to perfection. The wrong practice will get you closer to failure. So keep an association consistent, like not missing the calls, plugging in, asking some questions, reaching out to somebody that can give me some feedback. Travis and Jay, we got such a great team of people that can help give you some paradigm shifts, right? Because oftentimes we can slowly start shifting off and we just need a conversation to get us back on. So association, those three things consistent, what that'll lead to 6, 7, 8 weeks in, you're going to have a ratio. That ratio you can now reverse engineer and build confidence upon. Now you know every X amount of leads you get, even if it's not a great ratio, because maybe like me or like others, you suck, right? Like I mean, Colin sucked for his first 90 days, right? Like he just didn't get it, but he still had a ratio. So he started to reverse engineer his ratio. And then the great thing is, I think if you suck, it actually benefits you more in the beginning. If you fall on the I gotta outwork it, because when you start to get better, and you'll get better faster than most because you've got more reps, that discipline will stay there. And so when your ratio does enhance and improve because your close ratio goes up, well, you still got that discipline of being a dog, of going out there and putting that crazy work ethic in. And that's where you just go out there and just blow past everybody. Because the whole Outliers book that talks about 10,000 hours of practice or 10 years to get to an expert, that's a scientific, like factual proof. So even if you start out a little bit more talented than somebody else, that person's putting more reps in, they're going to get to an expert level. An expert level is an expert level. It's an even playing field. You're an expert, right? And so just some of those things that I think that would be important. But once you've got that ratio, now what you got to be encouraged by is once you get to month 12, bro, once you get to month 12, you got 25% backing commissions that are hitting, right? So if whatever you wrote the month prior, if you wrote 20,000, that's $5,000 in additional income that's coming in. Now you've got a book of business. You can do some annual reviews. You can get some referrals. So the first year, like in my mind, I was like, dude, if I could just get through the first year and actually survive, that would be great because like I just knew some of these things. I got back in commission. I'm gonna have a book of business where I can get referrals, write additional policies in addition to my leads. All those are just pure profit, right? I don't have to invest more in leads. I can stay that same investment in leads, but instead of my gap being here, that one referral or additional policy notches it up. So that gap is profit. So I just, I think having the right vision, and I saw it like that as well. Like, dude, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Like, I don't care what it's gonna look like. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, right? And I would just tell myself some weird stories, dude. Like, I was 19, so I was in college, and it was like, if I go to college, bro, I spend 4 years and go into debt and learn stupid stuff. Like here, if I could earn anything, it didn't cost me anything, and I'm going to learn how to become an entrepreneur, a business owner. Like to me, it was like free schooling, dude. Like, and I caught that really quick as I went to a couple meetings. I'm like, dude, that guy makes $1 million. That guy makes $1 million. That guy's running a massive team organization. And this business is true leadership because it's not positional. Your downline doesn't have to listen to you. They can be like, yeah, Johnny, that's great. I don't like you. Don't call me again. And I don't ever want to talk to you. There's no positional leadership. It's true leadership. So if you're building a team and working with an organization, you have to be a real leader because you can't lead from position. They don't have to listen. They're independent. So like I looked at this like, dude, I'm going to become like if I would pay to go to school for this, like they should charge for this. So I don't know, there's just different ways that I would sell myself on seeing things that would hedge against me being discouraged and thinking like, bro, this still didn't work out. Or this week was tough. It's like, dude, I should be paying for this. And the fact that I don't have to pay for this and I'm developing to get better, I mean, that's worth, the enrollment enough. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you, Johnny. Great question. Hey, let's go make this a massive week. Again, if this helped you, share it with somebody else that might help on your team and organization. The goal is that we get better together. And so let's go out there and make it a massive week, guys. Be strong, stay steadfast. I love you. Make it a big week. God bless you guys.